Hi everyone, welcome back to Nails Before Films, where I do nails and expose how much of a weirdo I am. Since I did Jason last time, I'm obligated to do Freddy next. I actually watched every single Nightmare movie because I wanted to watch Freddy vs. Jason. Like I said before, I have a habit of watching every film in order. So if I was going to watch Freddy vs. Jason, I had to watch every single movie in each franchise before watching the crossover. That's the only reason why I watched the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Oh, and I watched the reboot because why not? It's the only one left. As it goes for long-running horror franchises from the 80s, there are good and terrible movies in the Nightmare franchise. First, let's go through the basics. In a place called Springwood on Elm Street, teens are having nightmares of a disfigured man with a razor glove chasing them. The man is Freddy Krueger, who was a child murderer killed by the Elm Street parents years ago. Freddy's ghost attacks the teens in their dreams, and if he kills them in their nightmare, they die in real life too. In each movie, the teens have to figure out a way to defeat Freddy before he kills them in their sleep one by one. Okay, with that simple synopsis out of the way, let's talk about Nightmare. Overall, I do like the franchise, and Freddy Krueger is definitely one of the most iconic slashers. Unlike Jason or Michael, who just don't talk and generally don't have a personality, Freddy is funny and cracks jokes, maybe a bit too much. Freddy really has fun when he's tormenting kids, and it's impossible not to like him. Although the guy is a maniac who kills kids, Freddy is just interesting and has a lot of charisma, thanks to Robert Englund, who played Freddy in all of the films except the remake. Because Freddy kills people in their sleep, his kills are often much more creative and fun. They don't have to be grounded in reality and can be absurd and goofy. I just can't help but smile and giggle every time Freddy is on screen. It's just such a joy to see him kill. I mean, come on, the guy plays video games and skateboards. How can you not like him? Now, as for the concept itself, I do think having a dream killer is very clever, and it must have been scary when it first came out. Basically, you can't escape Freddy because everyone needs to sleep. No matter how hard you try to stay awake, you will eventually doze off, and Freddy will come for you. That is a very scary concept. Also, another clever idea of nightmare films is that the audience doesn't know if the characters are asleep or not. The line between reality and the dream world is blurred so that we be surprised when Freddy shows up and reveals that it's actually a dream all along. It's a great way to keep the audience engaged and on edge because we don't know if what we're seeing is reality or not. However, the franchise did spiral out of control and has some terrible ideas. It started out okay. I think the idea in Nightmare 2 that Freddy sort of possesses Jesse is nice. It's different than the first film, but maybe a bit too different. Freddy doesn't kill people in their dreams in this movie, which is kind of weird. But all in all, I think Nightmare 2 is fine. It's definitely better than many later entries. I actually didn't realize the homoerotic subtext in the movie the first time I watched it. Probably because I'm such a pure soul. Just kidding. I'm just incredibly tense when it comes to these kinds of stuff. In hindsight, the movie is extremely gay, but that does make it unique and interesting, so I don't mind. Next, Dream Warriors, which has the new idea that kids can get dream powers to defeat Freddy. I know it sounds silly, and it kind of is. It came out of nowhere and didn't match the you beat Freddy by not being scared of him logic from the first film. It's a bit stupid how they just make up stuff to make new movies, but oh well, I digress. I guess dream powers could be interesting if the kids actually have interesting powers, but no, they just become stronger and can do backflips. I mean, making the powers realistic does make them less goofy and believable, but it's also boring as heck. However, this movie is when Freddy really becomes funny, and the "welcome to prime time, bitch" line is just so iconic. We also learn more about Freddy's backstory in this film, but I'm actually not sure why it's necessary. Do we really need to know that Freddy's mom was raped by hundreds of people and that's how he came to be? It's just a bit excessive in my opinion. While the writing of this movie isn't the best, Dream Warrior is a fun movie to watch and definitely less cartoonish than the movies to come. Next on the list is Dream Master, in which Freddy kills the surviving teens from the previous movie. The new concept is that Freddy has killed all of the Elm Street kids, so he needs someone to pull new victims into dreams to kill them. He uses the main girl Alice to do this, and for some reason, every time one of Alice's friends gets killed by Freddy, she gains their dream power and personality. I don't know how that works, but that's just how it goes for these movies. Again, I think the idea is nice and I appreciate the effort to add something new, but I really don't like how they kill off the previous characters so quickly to make way for the new ones. We just spent an entire movie watching these kids survive, only for them to be killed off immediately in the next one. I don't know, it makes the previous movie seem pointless. Also, they again changed the way to defeat Freddy. This time it's showing Freddy how ugly he is. I don't know, it's dumb. However, the next movie is even dumber. Dream Child is a very weird film, even by nightmare standards. Alice from the last film gets pregnant and Freddy uses her unborn baby's dream to kill again. Yes, it's as stupid as it sounds. Also, Freddy is like feeding the baby souls to make him like him. In the end, they defeat Freddy by using his mom's spirit to suck him back to her uterus, I guess. I don't know, it's a complete mess. This movie is really when Nightmare starts to get too absurd for its own good. However, it's still fun to laugh at how messed up the movie is. At least it's somewhat entertaining. Finally, we come to the end of the original timeline with Freddy's dead. It's likewise funnily bad. This time we learn that Freddy has a daughter, and dream demons are the ones reviving him over and over again. I honestly think the production sees Nightmare as a comedy at this point. No way in heck were they trying to be scary. I can't say I enjoyed the latter movies and probably will never watch them again, but I will say that they are entertainingly bad, and Freddy's personality is really what kept the franchise going. Anyway, on to the better movie. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is probably my favorite movie in this franchise. I'm a big fan of meta films, and I think New Nightmare does it in a great way. In this movie, most of the characters play themselves because it takes place in real life, where Nightmare is just a film series. An evil entity who takes the guise of Freddy sets out to kill Heather, who played Nancy in the first film. Heather defeats the entity with her son, again trapping the entity within the fictional world of Nightmare. I think the movie combines the real world and the movie world in a very clever way. The twists are amazing and Freddy is threatening again. It really brings back the original appeal of the ambiguity between reality and dream and makes it even more complex by adding the actual real world into the mix. I think the writing is smart and really merges the different realities seamlessly. It's just such a well-acted, clever film. I absolutely love it, and it's so refreshing to see a movie that actually makes sense after the mess that is Nightmare 4, 5, and 6. Next is finally Freddy vs. Jason, the reason why I watched Nightmare in the first place. Of course, I love that film, and again, Jason is definitely the winner. I just think Jason and Freddy work so well together. On one hand, you have Freddy who kills kids, and it's just so funny. On the other, you have Jason who's basically a kid and never speaks a word. The contrast between the two makes them the perfect opponents, and the dynamic is just so fun to watch. But still, F you Freddy for bullying my Jason. You totally deserve to get your head cut off. Lastly, we have the 2010 remake, which is a movie I wish I never watched. First of all, why did you make Freddy into a child molester? It's one thing to kill kids and a completely different thing to molest them. It just makes this Freddy completely unlikable. I actually like the idea that Freddy could be innocent. That would have made the movie much more interesting and unique. But no, they made him even more terrible than the original. Why? To make this movie edgy? Guess what? It's just stupid and so insulting to Freddy fans. It's like the filmmakers have no idea why Freddy is so popular in the first place. Anyway, that alone justifies my hatred for this sorry excuse of a remake. And the rest of the movie isn't that good either. Most of the effects are CGI and look terrible. The characters are bland and it's just boring in general. It's not even entertainingly bad like the previous movies. It's just plain bad. I'm okay with the fact that they wanted to make a more serious, less cartoonish nightmare film. That's actually a good idea. But they did it in the most generic way possible. Unlike the Friday reboot, I don't feel any passion behind the Nightmare remake. It's just so uninteresting. I hate that the remake is currently the last movie in the franchise, and I hope they make something new soon. Freddy definitely deserves better. Anyway, that's my review of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Hope you guys like the Freddy nail. I'm pretty happy about this one. I think the burnt skin effect turned out nicely, and I'm super proud of the glove as well. As always, like, dislike, subscribe, comment, share, do what you want. Just keep nailing it and never sleep again, people.